Hello, my name's Julie. I'm from Spellbound and this is the Spellbound design that we call the Mayfly necklace. It's a very simple string of beads, but at the front you've got this lovely little mayfly or dragonfly motif, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. It's very easy to do indeed and uses very easily available beads. I'm just going to move everything out of the way for the moment so I can show you the materials. We're going to need 4 dagger beads. Now the dagger beads are 13mm long, between 5 and 6mm across at the widest point, and they have a single hole across the narrow end. I've got 6 fire polish beads. Now these are 4mm in size and they've got a nice generous hole. Now any 4mm bead will do, but fire polish are rather nice because they sparkle. And I've got 1 single seed bead. I'm using a size 10, but you could use an 11 or a 9 or something similar. We just want something small to use for an anchor. And everything is held together with a length of wire. Now this is 0.315mm wire, and it's a soft temper, which means I can do lots of manipulation before it becomes brittle and breaks. Now this wire is available in lots of colours. I've chosen a sort of pinky coppery colour to go with my bead selection, but you could equally use green, black, blue, whatever you wanted to use. I've got 60 centimetres. Right, let's get started. I'll just move the wing beads aside and concentrate on the anchor. I'm going to thread on my little seed bead, bring the 2 ends of the wire together and push the seed bead down to the middle. And I'm just going to squeeze the wire about it so it sits in a little bend right in the middle of the wire. Back to the 2 cut ends of the wire, and I'm going to thread both of them in the same direction through 3 of my faceted beads. There we go. And push them down to the anchor. Now I need to make sure this is nice and tight, so I'm going to pull them down and separate the 2 wire ends, and that effectively locks them in place for the moment. Just draw that away while I have a look at my wing beads. Now I've chosen to use dagger beads with an AB finish, and as this is a flat shape you'll find that you've got more AB probably on one side than the other. AB is the iridescent sort of shininess that you get on these types of beads. Now I've made sure that I've got the shiniest side uppermost, and I've separated them into 2 pairs, so I know if I thread through the holes that way and that way I'll get the shiny side uppermost on my dragonfly. Right, I've got one side of the wire only, and I'm going to go through those 2 beads and bring them down to the 3 facets I put on earlier. Other side of the wire, I'm going to pass through those 2 beads and bring those down to the middle too. Right, now to bring the top of the dragonfly together I need to add the head, and the head is made from a 4mm facet, so I'm going to thread that onto one side of the wire, and I'm keeping it about 3 centimetres from the end. Pick up the other side of the wire and pass in the opposite direction through the same bead, and that makes an X shape. And I'm just going to gently pull on both sides of the wire a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. So I bring it down to make a nice neat circle comprising the 4 dagger beads and my new facet. Now if I put that down flat, you can see that the hole in the 3 faceted beads that made the abdomen, the long part we made first. The holes go that way, and the new faceted bead I've just put on the head, the hole goes side to side. I've got one piece of wire coming out of one side of the bead and one out of the other. Now I need to make sure that's nice and firm, so I'm going to keep a little bit of tension on that while I make a loop on the top. Now you might not want a loop, but I'd like a loop to turn this into a pendant or an earring. So I'm going to take this piece of wire, the piece of wire coming from this side of the bead, I'm going to come all the way around and go into the other side of the facet. There we go. And I'm going to pull through, and you can see I'm making a nice generous circle. I want it about 8 millimeters in diameter. I'm going to pinch the 2 sides of that together so it goes a little bit flat, and then I can twist. And 3 little twists gives me a nice loop at the top. So that will be something I can use to dangle my dragonfly with. Right, now we need to make the thorax to cover up this hole between the wings, and I'm going to cover it up at the front and at the back using the last 2 faceted beads. I'm going to start with this side of the wire, and I'm going to put on 1 facet. Now the wire's coming out of this side of the head. I'm going to go diagonally across the body like that to twist off between the top of the abdomen and this bottom wing here. So there's a little bit of wire in there. So if I come up through the centre hole in the middle of the wings and then up again, you can see that that bead is now firm in a diagonal line across the abdomen, across the thorax. I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to do the same the other side. So here we go, on with the facet, diagonally across the body and up through that gap between the top of the abdomen and that bottom wing. And again, the bead is held diagonally across the hole. So the hole is concealed, but I would really like it to be a little bit firmer, and I'd also, if possible, like to straighten up that bead. I'm just a little bit of a fussy peg, and I like things in the right line. So this is the wire from the other side, the one that I put facet on from this side. I'm going to pass up through that bead, so I'm coming from this corner here, I'm passing up through that thorax bead, and you can see the diagonals going the other way. So when I pass through, I'm going to tug on it a little bit, and it sort of straightens the bead up, and then I'm going to fasten off to this shoulder. So this time it's between the top of that top wing and the head. There we go. So now that bead has straightened up, so everything's in a line. I feel better about it. Right, flip over and let's do the same. So this is the wire that originally held that facet on. I'm going to bring it to this side of the dragonfly, through that diagonal bead, and as you can see I'm coming from this corner and I'm going that way up the diagonal. Pull through, untangle the wires, that's a bit inconvenient, it getting tangled. Pull that facet across, so you don't want to be too tough on it because you don't want the wire to snap, and then fasten it off to that opposite shoulder. This is where I regret using wire that's a very similar colour to the beads. There we go. So now that bead is straightened up too, and it's held on an X of wire, same as that side. Now we're nearly there. The only problem is we've got very floppy wings, and we need to hold those nice and firm. I'm going to use the two ends of the wire to do some binding. I'm going to bind over the base of the wings, coming out towards the tips just a little way, and that will hold everything together. So I'm going to start with this side, and I'm going to wrap under and over at the base of the wing, under and over, under and over, and that's 3 times, 4 times, and you can see the wings have come together a bit more. I'm going to do one more for luck. So I've done 5 bindings. You might find 4 is sufficient, or you might even get away with 3. But there's no right or wrong. Just if you extend beyond 6 or 7 bindings, you'll find it difficult to finish it off neatly. So I've got 5 bindings there. Now I need to fasten off this piece of wire. So I'm going to go back to this bottom corner and poke the wire through between the abdomen and that bottom wing and pull through. Now as you can see, I've left all those bindings nice and parallel, and it's nice and neat at the back too. Now I'm going to need to finish off the wire, so I'm going to poke it up through the body bead, this thorax bead again, and leave it attached for the moment while I deal with the other set of wings. Let's flip over, straighten the wire, and I'm going to do the same again. So I'm going to bind once against the thorax, then another binding next to that, and another one next to that. So that's 3, 4, 5, and I'm doing the same as on the other side to make it match. Now I need to fasten it off so it's up through that little bit at the bottom corner. There we go. Pull it through. That feels really firm now. And I'm going to do the same, pass the end of the wire up through the thorax bead and pull through. Right, so I've got one wire end sticking out the thorax on the back and one on the front. Now you could get your wire cutters in or some old scissors and trim that, but it's much easier to break it off. It's much neater too. So put your thumbnail against where it comes out of the bead and twist. And as you twist, you pull. And what you do is you weaken the wire. There, it becomes brittle and it breaks, and it gives you no burr. Right, same on this side. Thumbnail right against where you want the wire to bend. Pull on the wire and rotate, and there we go, it's snapped off, no burr. And there we've got our little dragonfly complete. Now you might want to put him onto an ear wire or onto a jump ring. I've got some different colours here. This one's made with crystal AB with a little pearl for the thorax, and that might be quite nice for a wedding theme. And this is the original colourway that's on the mayfly necklace with these stunning scarab blue wings and turquoise facets. Thank you for watching.